had to adapt and change a little bit throughout the year and finally have a more cohesive plan for the start of next semester. So we kind of built the Roots program around this quote by Robert Ingersoll called "We Rise by Lifting Others." We created this little logo that kind of disappeared throughout the year, but we have the blue jay and the eagle in the tree. And Roots stands for Representatives of Open Outreach for Thriving Students, which is a roundabout way of saying that we are just here to kind of support the underclassmen and our peers. So here's the vision of Roots when it first started out. We wanted to offer peer support to EDGE students with special attention to first-year EDGE students, establish a strong and cohesive community among all grade levels, and act as the voice of EDGE students to help communicate any issues with the EDGE teachers. We wanted to offer project support and feedback and allow for collaboration among students, as well as provide peer feedback, which is extremely helpful for that first project. The responsibility of the Root leaders, we kind of dubbed them village elders as kind of a fun way of going about it, but we wanted to be open to collaboration and feedback from peers. We wanted to run sessions over the CRAP test, which is a way of assessing a source's credibility. We wanted to provide scheduling support and advice, flow support and advice, and for those of you who don't know, flow is like a unstructured work time where we use that time to complete our homework. And finally, meet with our groups at least once a month. The structure of the Roots program was to split students into groups based on their village. We hope that the Root program will bring forth a feeling of connection among students within their village to kind of reinforce the global activism class that we've had established since the creation of EDGE. So now we have the implementation process. The Roots program was implemented at the start of this year, and it was pretty heavily used for the first month and a half, and then kind of trailed off as the school year got less busy. So here are the successes and struggles of the program. But before that, this was the structure of how we kind of implemented Roots to begin with. In the color-coded box area, those are all of the root villages. So as you can see, there's like an elder written in bold, and then their groups or group members. We divided that among each village and hoped to have a pretty equal balance between grade levels to make sure that there wasn't a majority of juniors and one freshman. We had plans set up for each meeting. I would type up on a Google Doc and send them out to the seniors to make sure that everyone was able to kind of have a guide to work throughout the meeting. And then finally, I've sent emails to the EDGE seniors to kind of help set them up for the process. So that was like the very basic starting process. From there, we had some successes. We were super helpful with scheduling because rather than teachers having to check each individual schedule, Root leaders were able to go in and make sure that everything was clear and concise and there weren't any gaps in scheduling. We also had some success with the culture chats in EDGE. As the year kind of was kicking off, we had some issues with a little bit more freedom than was probably necessary, which resulted in some issues that we did not find successful or productive, I guess. So we had culture chats that were led by the teachers, and then the Root leaders from there kind of reinforced the chats in their own small groups, which really helped bring in two perspectives and help hold each other accountable. We also had some relationship among peers kind of grow and flourish. So upperclassmen and lowerclassmen connections kind of were stronger throughout this year because every person knew at least one upperclassman through their Root group leaders. And then finally, cooperation and partnership was really strong because we were giving that feedback on projects and people grew more comfortable asking their peers for help. As for the struggles, the biggest struggle was consistency. As I said before, as the school year got less busy, there was a little bit more struggle with meeting with Root groups frequently because there was nothing to talk about. So as the school year progressed, students got used to the dynamics in EDGE, so we didn't need to constantly check their schedules. So to address this in the future, we will decrease the consistency of the meetings gradually so people can kind of be set free. And then also we have events. So exhibition night was kind of helpful for Root group leaders. We were able to meet with our groups and make sure that everyone had projects ready, and if they had any questions for their projects, they were able to ask. So in the future, we'll make sure that we kind of structure the Root group meetings around the busy events in the year. So now we have future plans. After like the observations from this year, we've kind of established a more hopefully structured program as we move into the next school year. The groups will still be structured within villages because EDGE students remain in the same village throughout the course of their time in EDGE. When they become seniors, they'll switch to Miss Cummage's village, which is really great for the group leaders because then they'll have one kind of meeting space or headquarters, so they won't have to deal with excessive communication. It can just happen in village. As for the time frame, we'll begin with weekly meetings to make sure that scheduling is done correctly, and then after August and the first part of September, we'll move into either bi-weekly meetings or just once a month, just to make sure that everyone is kind of successful on their own. And then we'll have only when needed if we have to have another culture chat. As for lessons will be less formal and more of a roundtable discussion, just making sure that the seniors know, or the underclassmen know that the seniors are going to be there for them if they need help and support. And then here is the actual structure. So these are the kind of key topics that we want to meet each month. As you can see, August and September are a little bit more busy. So we're going to have scheduling, culture chats, team building, and weekly meetings in August just to make sure that the school year is starting off strong. In September, we'll switch into project support because September is when we typically do our first big project. October will still be that project support, but we also will have competency chats because that's around the same time as parent-teacher conferences. And competency chats are a little bit stressful for underclassmen or just anybody in general. So making sure that the seniors are there who have done competency chats in the past can offer like advice and feedback. That's super helpful. And then I added some like holiday ideas, so we could do a costume contest among villages just as a team building exercise. November is project support again and a Thanksgiving activity. And then December, again, we'll prepare for competency chats for the end of the semester. And then also have a little reflection on the first part of the semester. January, we'll start off with semester goals and advice for the next school year's plans. For those of you who don't know, all underclassmen will start planning their schedules in January. So they want to make sure that we are offering them advice for what classes they should and shouldn't take, what clubs they should join. So it kind of gives like a nice peer conversation. February, at least this month, it was our exhibition night. I'm not sure if that's going to be the same next year, but whenever exhibition night is, that will be a time for group leaders to meet with their groups. March, again, we have competency chats. April, we'll have senior messages. So the seniors will kind of give their final words of advice as they are starting to graduate. And in May, we will have the last competency chats that will be led by the new group leaders, which will be the senior class for the following year. So yeah, these are the breakdowns for the events of the group leaders in hopefully next school year. Now, I had a few personal takeaways for the root program. It was kind of a passion project, and I was able to take a lot away from it. The first one is problem solving. So as you can kind of see, I worked through a lot of the problems that arose? Is that a word? I don't know. The problems that came up throughout the year. Problem solving was a big one. And then I also learned a lot about leadership through working with different people who may not have leadership experience or may not feel comfortable leading a group. So that was a fun kind of task to attempt to solve. Again, going back to problem solving. I learned a lot about communication with the group leaders, having to email constantly and making sure that things were going well. Also accepting feedback from the EDGE community to make sure that the Roots program wasn't excessive or boring. Trying to make sure that it was something that was actually productive and beneficial to EDGE. And finally, cooperation was a really big one. Bella and I cooperated a lot at the beginning of the school year to kind of get this off the ground. We worked a lot with the teachers to make sure that we were helping them when they needed help, and then also worked with our peers. So yeah, that is the Root Group program. Does anybody have any questions? Happy to answer.